Pretty quick. Enjoying it? What do you think of the big track? Good? Awesome.
Now, what was Lynn Berman's?
Just first of all, just to start this, those that knew Gil or didn't know Gil, I'd just like to ask for a minute's silence in respect of him. Thanks. Right, thank you everybody. Getting on with this. Okay, first of all, thanks for coming today and being a part of the unveiling of Gil Harris Memorial Plaque. And on behalf of the Levis Club, I'd like to welcome all the Levis, all the members of Gil's family. And it's good to see a good turnout. Thanks to Sandra and everybody for supporting it. And I'd like to apologise on behalf of the club that this has taken some time to be put in place, but it's finally come about. And the main thing is, I haven't got an excuse, but what I can say is that we're pleased that we can finally offer this plaque in memory of him, and so others may also know how much he was liked, loved and respected. So I had the honour of speaking at Gil's funeral, and it was a tough gig, as this is. And when I sat down to prepare this speech the other night, I wasn't quite sure how I'd tackle it, so I actually cheated. And I grabbed some of what I did at Gil's funeral and adapted a little bit and put it in place to mark this one. So I cheated a bit. Sandra's got a really good memory. She'll know the bits and pieces. So you'll work it out as we go along. Affectionately known as Bert or Uncle Bert, he was a great club man and was the recipient of many club awards. And we're here to talk about Gil, not necessarily. And his history and where he was brought up, as we did in the funeral, but this is about Gil and how he was associated with the club, how he was associated with the sport, and how he was associated with the Kesa Park, because he did love this place, and hence that's why this is happening. So he enjoyed the camaraderie that the club offered, and when you're a member of the Levis Club, it's like being part of an extended family, and Bert was always an important part of our family. The Levis Club wouldn't have accomplished what they did over the years without his involvement. It didn't matter what the club was doing, Bert would always be there helping out. He was always the first to volunteer to do whatever needed doing, but he was also the first to volunteer when there was a new bottle of port open to have a bit of a sample. And especially when we're sitting around the campfire. Bert loved to come up here to Kesa Park, and particularly on the ride days, and we always used to meet up here early and do all the opening up, preparing and cleaning up and that and getting ready. And he loved coaching the kids up here. It was his passion, and when he retired he was able to devote more time to the development of young riders. Many of those riders he coached over the years have now gone on to become a great success in their chosen facet of motorcycling, and I know they have a lot of praise and respect for him. He was made a life member of the Levis Club in 1993, and as our club coach, I remember him as he was very proud to receive that honour. During the many hours of conversations I had with him while we were on the long drives, heading out to trail rides or sitting around the campfire, there would be the usual bar racing, which we always do, and there was always arguments about the best bike in the world, which he always said was his Husky. So I know Ben can relate to that, and I think he's still got the Husky. Yep. He has. The conversation would often work its way back to how much he loved Sandra and his family, and how fortunate he was to have a family that encouraged him to pursue his passion. He was devoted to Sandra, and his devotion was never ceased to amaze me as a family man. We all miss his company, the conversations, the laughs, and being his mate. Like me, many of you have your individual memories of Bert, and I'm sure there won't be a bad one amongst them. For whatever reason you knew him, I'm sure that you will have your story to tell about him. So the next time you're sitting around the campfire and you remember him, tell your story. I think he'd like that. Our club members had many conversations about what he would have placed on his plaque, what we would have placed on his plaque, and while we could have put a lot more detail on the plaque, we decided that we'll do what Bert always did. He would kept it straightforward and to the point, and that's who Bert was. So when anyone that didn't know Bert asked me who he was, I could simply say he was a mentor, he was a coach, and above all, he was a good mate. On behalf of Gil's family and friends of the Levis Club, I would like to ask Sandra to come up and unveil. So what we got to do is put that off. That's it. I hope it's very straightforward. It's simple. It just epitomises what Bert was, and we didn't want to go in great detail, but we did want to express what he was, and I hope everyone's happy with the result. And I'm sure Sandra will be.
Yes, yeah, I think it's wonderful, especially the rock. He'd have loved it.
He would. So, for those of you that don't know, we have a thing called General Business in the Levis Club.
Just before you go there, mate.
So,
I've got something I have to do.
you have to do.
That you don't know about.
Okay.
So this is unusual actually that Murray Toon actually doesn't know about this. Sandra, before you go anywhere. So a couple of years ago, so Bert not only did a lot with the Levis Club, he did a massive amount with motorcycling in South Australia. As a coach, he coached around the state many clubs, and he was involved in a lot of clubs, not just the Levis Club. And in recognition of that, a couple of years ago, I nominated Bert for a life membership at MSA. Unfortunately, you didn't get there. It all just slipped through. So today I'd like to give you Bert's life membership badge for MSA.
Life membership.
Absolutely. Well deserved. Daffy's fallen over.
Yes,
Bit early.
actually.
He's been around a bit.
Yeah, too many ports.
I wonder if he drinks port.
Probably.
Probably does. All right. In the Levis Club we have a thing, and we've been doing this for many years, and it started back in probably earlier than 1996 when we went over the Simpson Desert. We came back to Cooper's Creek and we found Frank Franklin's place of rest, and there was a plaque on a tree, and it took us, I think, about 3 hours to find it, but we finally found it. And we got together, there was about 30 of us, we got together and we decided, oh, what can we do? Not much we can do, might as well have a drink, as we do. So we got a bottle of port out, had a drink, rounded it off, polished it off, and then buried it at the tree where he had his plaque. So we've followed this on a bit. We've been doing this for many years. So what I'd like to do is invite everybody that want to. It's entirely up to you. But if, we've got a couple of bottles of very good port, and they're actually Levis port. And thanks to Bretton and Steve Matthews, because Steve actually blended this port, and it's a club port that we had, and it's called General Business because for years we would have our meetings, and then at the end of the meeting we'd go to General Business, and everyone had said, one day someone said, yeah, I've got some general business. Who was that?
1991 Alice Springs after the fleet had started.
Yeah, it started. So I've got some general business and held up a bottle of port, and that went around. And ever since then, and that's why the port has made itself as general business. And there's actually quite a bit of a story about it on the back of one of the port bottles. So
Mind you, though, it hasn't always been good.
no, not always. There's been some rough ports. we've had over the years. And as Bert always loved a good sport, and Sandra would know that, and would often be sitting around the fire, out in the middle of nowhere, wherever, Gawler Ranges, Pink Desert Race, wherever it was, having a bottle of port and passing it around the boys around the campfire was just something that was always one of his favourite things and one of our favourite things. So we just kept that going. So
he was really impressed with this one.
He
went
was.
up to the Flinders Ranges, Brett.
yeah.
And we had that, and I remember sitting up with him and the Japanese guys, the guy that never got quite into his tent at the end of the night. He really enjoyed it. It was a good night.
All right. So you've stuffed it. He's done it. He's done it up. The other one though opens up better than that one.
The other one is open.
The other one's
Is it?
open.
Oh well.
Yeah, poke it in with
One
your
will
finger.
do.
It's all class.
Finger's too fat.
You're such a funny fella.
Is it in?
It's in. So there's 2 bottles. Did you bring some? No, they're back there.
So if you don't like doing this, bad luck, all right?
Yeah.
But general business has actually done cheers like this.
Done like that. And it's always been done like that.
Done that way,
And always will be done like that.
No, not for me.
You just got to have a little, just a little.
Okay.
Just a
Put your lips to it. Yes.
Thanks to everyone for coming.
No, it's a
and,
text.
You're welcome to have a drink.
No worries, thank you.
We've got plenty of food. We've got a barbecue happening. We've got soft drinks. We've got alcohol.
Big a drink.
And we've got everything you might need. So you're more than welcome to stay, hang around, and we'll start talking once we all get back. So thanks very much.
Wrong with corking it.
Sorry, Ben's just
Sorry, I left it a bit late. It is a nice drop.
It is lovely.
It is.
Dad's contribution to the club, and it's extremely fitting to have this here because of all the good memories we have of him.
Yes, right next to his coaching track. So yes, and it's a very impressive rock. And also
bloody heavy rock.
and
We
the
thought
fact-
about moving it, but we decided no. It's just too hard to move. So it took a bit for Britain to get it here, so here it stays.
And also to thank the Levis Club for all the support they gave Gil over the years,
Thank you.
all the good times that he had,
Yeah.
especially probably the last 2 years when he really needed support and he wasn't himself, and everybody just accepted him for what he was and let him do his thing and just help him through. So it was great. And thank you to all of you from all the family.
We all miss him.
You
Yes,
do.
don't we?
You bet.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Mum. That was great.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, Ben. Good on you, mate. Here. Thanks, everyone.
Yes.
That's the story of Oregon at the tree.
It's all around the place. There's also 3 people around it. There's also one in